Put your hands together once again for our moderator, Devon Krantz.
Woo.
One person found their hand, Devon.
Thank you.
It's amazing, isn't
Thank
it?
you, thank you.
Oh, there we go. More found it, wonderful. Then, of course, Devon's with Linum Labs. Linum Labs as well. Wayne, not Wade, Wayne van Niekerk. Here we go. The man who almost could walk on water but didn't, Gillis. From Sea Monster / Lighthouse / everything else. Good man. And he knows more about gaming than most gamers themselves.
Perfect.
And then, Michael Jordan, wearing some really cool drip. And finally, Michael Deon. I'm going to hand over to you. Have fun.
All right, thank you so much. Hi, everyone. So I'm going to be moderating today the panel for blockchain and gaming, and we're going to be discussing a couple of the use cases, trends, and kind of what's happening in the space at the moment. So also on my panel with me, I'm just going to allow them as well to just quickly run through and do a self-introduction, is Glenn. He is the CEO and co-founder of Sea Monster. So, Glenn?
Yeah, thank you very much indeed. Absolutely. We are what's called an impact gaming business, which means we use games to drive outcomes like marketing, learning, social change, and we believe games are going to change the world and are going to change Africa. We might be wrong, by the way, but that's what we believe.
Hopefully not. I don't think so. Also on our panel next to Glenn is Michael Jordan from Polygon.
Yeah, hi everyone. And yeah, Polygon is an Ethereum scaling solution. So everything you can do on Ethereum, you can do on Polygon, just cheaper, faster, and yeah, so definitely check it out.
And next up is Michael Deon from Key Studios.
How's everyone? Yes, Key Studios is a Web3 game development studio. We've been around since 2017, building from counterparty days. Yeah.
Thanks, Michael. And then at the end of our panel here is Wayne from my team as well. So Wayne, over to you.
Hey everyone, I am a client strategist and also run business development for Linum Labs. We're a blockchain development studio specializing in Web3 development, so it's quite funny that Michael and I actually haven't worked together yet to build out a game on the blockchain, but yeah, we'll have to see.
All right, so to kick off our panel today, I'd like to start off by maybe asking, MJ, you were chatting to me earlier actually about a cool story about what actually first got Vitalik into Ethereum, I think. So maybe if you'd like to share with the audience as kind of like some background story, what that story was, and maybe introduce us a little bit to blockchain and gaming as a topic.
So yeah, I mean, Vitalik, who's the creator of Ethereum, he tells the story of how he was playing World of Warcraft, and he had spent all this time and energy in really building up his character, only to find out one day that Blizzard, the games publishers, realized that this character was just too strong, and they decided to tone down the statistics on this character. And Vitalik was absolutely crushed. He had spent all this time and energy building up this character, only to have a centralized authority turn it down. And he was also editor of Bitcoin magazine, so he was aware of blockchain technology, and he thought, why don't we use blockchain in a way so that no central authority has this ability to turn down my gaming characters. So in a weird way, this whole crypto boom, which we've seen with Ethereum, came about because someone turned down a gaming character, and that was one of the big motivations behind the technology that we all love and enjoy today.
Yeah, so I mean, blockchain is a relatively new concept if we think about it, then gaming and blockchain is even more so. What we're seeing kind of now, I guess, with the adoption or interest in blockchain gaming, I think is something to be discovered more and more in Africa as a topic. But I want to ask you, Glenn, actually, where you kind of see it going in Africa maybe specifically, or the world as a whole, and what kind of upcoming trends you kind of see as well?
Yeah, thanks. It's a great story and very illustrative of so many different aspects of gaming. So let's take Africa gaming and break it down into a couple of three big elements. There's some element there about African relevance, African story, African creative, and for us, one of the big exciting elements of NFTs at least is this idea that I want to share value back with the person who created something. And so if we talk about African gaming from the sense of whose creative it is, there's something absolutely there. There's another element which is African-owned. And that, for me, is probably the most important thing. And that is, how do we get the flywheel of value to bring money back into the ecosystem? If not, all we're ever doing is we're building other people's games and we're frankly selling ours. So until we can get some sort of annuity income coming back into the economy, we really are going to experience a new form of colonialism. Let's be frank, that's what it's exploitative. And so crypto's got a huge role to play in that space. And then there's elements of African production. So African relevant, African owned, African made. And so how do we find ways to bulk up our capability to produce gaming at a massive scale? And that's maybe where DAOs come in, complicated as they may be simpler to facilitate cross-border collaboration, and there's very exciting initiatives happening there. So maybe just to round out that comment, is about shared value. Ultimately, about time, effort in my game, and in whom do I trust in terms of the rules by which that value is rewarded. And that for us means we're going to get married and have each other's children. It's just a matter of time. I'm sorry, that was not an actual
Thank you for the clarification. But yeah, Michael, Deon, I wanted to actually ask you your thoughts, maybe spurring on from Glenn's points here as well, and what you kind of maybe view as the implementation and accessibility for technology like this in Africa particularly. What do you think kind of like will inhibit us? What do you think will help us grow and make this technology successful?
Cool. So mainly for me, when it comes to blockchain tech is NFTs, because that's like my biggest field of view is NFTs. And one of the panelists before brought up House Africa, which are actually friends of mine in Nigeria. And that solves the problem right there, right? But when it comes to more rural areas of Africa, there's a limitation and a barrier to entry on that regard already. So things like implementing, like, I know it sounds ridiculous, but like Starlink to get free access to the internet would embark the entire continent of Africa to be able to connect to this new financial system that's for the unbanked, right? Which unlocks a whole new kind of opportunity for them. And when it comes to like NFT gaming and so forth, we get into it, like play to earn and so forth, that allows people who literally could not make a dime selling fish on the side market to sitting at home on a broken laptop that's either mining or playing games to get free money. Similar to what happens in the Philippines, which we can get into later. But,
yeah, actually, so bringing that up as a topic, actually play to earn.
Yeah.
So play to earn is something, and you'll hear this term a lot if you're thinking about blockchain and gaming. I actually wanted to open this to all of the panelists and kind of ask if you guys see any potential for play to earn actually becoming a sustainable income or living wage possibility in Africa, or actually for anyone at the moment. Are we there yet? What do we kind of need to get there?
Well, I think personally it probably boils down to how much the person wants to be involved engaging with the game itself.
Yeah.
If the game itself is boring, it's something that'll be a quick hype, quick buck, and then it'll just fizzle out. So essentially, if you're trying to earn an income from doing something recreational, the user experience in the game itself needs to be somewhat fulfilling and somewhat meaningful, and if it's not doing that, it's probably going to die out pretty fast. I don't know, what's your thoughts on that?
yeah, I mean, like Axie Infinity, the gameplay was personally like horrendous and boring, but there were so many people that were on board because there was a way of selling these creatures for capital. And that was happening in the Philippines, that people were literally mining or farming these creatures for money. I mean, some guy actually bought like 2 houses from just mining or breeding these Axie Infinity creatures. But eventually the whole thing died off because there was enough, besides the hack, the gameplay sustainability of actually playing to earn something by doing something fulfilling wasn't there. But if you go to like Blizzard, who makes like World of Warcraft, and you're playing and getting rare items, for example, like 5 of 5 in the entire world, that's going to be worth big capital because someone's going to want that for their collection or within the game. Unlocks super special areas. But the biggest thing is with the pay to earn thing is, where does the value draw for the in-game currency? Like where does that value come from besides speculation? And that's always been my question mark with a lot of these games. And one of the things we did with Air Guitar Academy was, it's a music game, so you hit the beats, it's kind of like Guitar Hero. And what happens is the artists that are on there get royalties of every time someone plays, and they place bets. Whatever song is played, the artist actually gets that currency straight to their wallets, kind of thing. So it's continuously, the bigger player base there is, the more songs they add to the platform, the more artists that will get paid from people playing the more popular songs.
Well, it's like one of those games that I play probably too much is FIFA. And I've been playing FIFA since '96, and these latest versions, they create this thing called, FIFA Ultimate Team, where you have to play online, play multiple matches in order to get an in-game currency, in order to go purchase bigger and stronger players. But at the moment, it's very centralized. If I want more tokens, I have to go to EA Sports and buy it directly from them. And that's why people get a little bit upset, because they feel like this is a bit of a money grab in that sense. But we could have a future where you will have people who will be playing this FIFA game, getting the currency. There will be blockchain rules that say this is the only way currency can be released, by completing matches. And you'll have people who've maybe got free time, who are really passionate about the game, playing it. And then you'll have people like me, who's maybe not that good at the game, but wants to start off with all the best players. And I'll buy the currency directly from them in order to purchase the players that I want. And what we've done is we've created a decentralized economy. Instead of us relying on the game publisher to get the in-game currency and for them to control the assets, you've decentralized that amongst the players. So some players will play the game, generate the coin, and then they will sell it to other players. And what you'll effectively have is you could be playing your favorite game and actually making money from it, because there's other players who value what you've done. And I think that's going to be really, really exciting.
I'm going to come at it from a completely different perspective
I would love
altogether. So I love all of that. And so you've been playing since 1996 and you're still shit. How did that happen? If you think about most games in the world, at least casual games, are funded by advertising. And one of the biggest challenges in Africa is we have the vicious cycle where there's no market, therefore there's no advertising, therefore there's no money, therefore there's shit content, and you don't get that beautiful flywheel, that, again, of value that's created out of the industry. So how do you start to break that? And one of the main ways that you can do that is realizing that brands want to engage with audiences. I mean, of course, that's true. What brands are doing quite well is they are rewarding you for your purchase. So let's call that pay to earn. It's a pure extrinsic motivation. And what we know from gameplay is that we need to value people's time and engagement. So when we hear play to earn, which is why I was jumping out of my seat, it's really about putting the user at the center of the experience, and then being able to validate that they did something in the real world or the digital world, or ideally some combination of those two. And so we're talking to big brands to say to them, play to earn is about you giving people something that is entertaining and setting up an exchange of value, sound familiar to anybody, of your insights, your time, is worth something to me as a brand. And if we get that relationship teed up, we'll honor your engagement. We have a currency. One of you guys will figure out which one that is. And we have a new way to fund gaming on the continent. Brands are going to get something and players are going to get something. That's what we think play to earn could be. And we think it's going to be the first way that most people in Africa are actually going to participate in the digital economy, not from an extractive point of view, but where they actually create value for themselves in that. I hope that made
That did make sense.
some sense.
It actually touched on one of my favorite topics, and that's the attention economy.
Exactly.
And that's something that we're hearing more and more as a term, actually, over the past few, year now, the attention economy. What is going to be the currency of the future? Is it going to be one of these tokens, or is it going to be everyone's attention? Do we gain value now? Like companies, like you just mentioned, they will gain their value from people spending time and effort and engagement on their specific products.
Yeah.
So no matter how cool your product is, it doesn't matter if it's not adding something to the user's experience. They're not going to spend their time on it, and then you're not going to get anything from that either.
Spot on. And I mean, what is brand equity? Brand equity is you as a brand trying to tell me your story. You know, if you're not doing that, you're competing on product and price. So how do you ever build something if all you can do is get fractions of a second of my time on Instagram? You know, okay, you've got 5 minutes, hit me with your best shot. But give me something in that process. And one of the things we think brands can give back is the knowledge about their business. You know, if you're a bank, make me a better customer. I mean, it's not complicated. You know, just share your knowledge in a way with me that is useful. The worst thing is I'll be a better customer.
That brings up like an interesting perspective as well around blockchain and the rewards from gamification. So not just gaming, but now maybe for like businesses that, like you say, want feedback or they want you to react or behave in a specific way. We know that game theory then starts becoming like pivotal in the success of a lot of these games.
Yeah.
So Wayne, I know that you looked into this as well.
Just to interrupt there, just trying to think, just going back to your original question about whether playing a play-to-earn game on-chain is going to create sustainable income for people in Africa. And to be quite frank, we actually haven't seen a gaming economy on-chain last longer than a year or two.
Yeah.
So is it sustainable? Is it something they can do every single time? Probably not yet. The gameplay still needs to catch up to what needs to be done on-chain, and we still need to see the maturity of the economy within that game thrive to the point where the network effect of the user base is sustainable past the typical crypto cycle. I'm curious to see if everybody was thinking in the peak bull market that they could make a living from gaming. Coming to the bear market, is it so sustainable still?
Wayne, I think you just need to separate out the issues. Making games in Africa is a fool's game. It's a fool's business. It doesn't make money for anybody. I mean, like, just recognize, you're completely right, by the way, but it's true for gaming generally. So the only guys that have sustainable businesses right now on the continent are people who do work for hire.
Yeah.
You know, let's be frank. So good luck with that. I mean, trust me, you want the keys to Siemens, here you go. It's not an easy thing. So people who make casual games almost everywhere generally don't have business models.
Yeah.
So you must think about which problem you're solving for. That's an issue. And the blockchain is an issue. We think blockchain is going to help solve it rather than try and do it in the old-fashioned way, which, as I said, is try and get ad measurements in place and then get the big advertisers to basically interrupt our ad play like they've been doing for the last 20 years. That's not really, anyway, you get the point.
But touching on game theory, what was your question, Devon?
I can't remember. I can't remember, but I enjoyed the debate. I think, I'm not sure, but we have five minutes left of our panel. So what I wanted to ask you guys maybe is just for what you're the most excited about with gaming coming up in blockchain, like gaming as a concept coming up in blockchain. Like, what do you think the kind of future use cases would be if we were to think far out? Like, what are the kind of things that you think we could maybe be expecting in 3 to 5 to 10 years? I don't know which, you can pick your battle there. It's almost impossible to predict right now, but I'd be curious to see kind of like where you guys are thinking.
Cool. Well, going off what Wayne said, when it comes to sustainability with NFT projects, I also think it's keeping the hype and relevancy is one of the biggest things. But one project that I'm super excited about is a company called Artifact. They were bought up by Nike, I think last year. And all they started off was a profile picture collection, NFT collection. And super cool. They had a collaboration with Murakami, dope stuff. And what they did was, instead of all 3D assets, so what they did was they gave the entire community, if you own the NFT, you'd unlock the entire 3D rigged character, and you could make arts. They give you a tutorial on Blender, how to use it, and so forth. And now what the community have done of that project have actually started making their own videos, games, with its assets, because it's all pre-rigged. It's all ready for you to throw in Unity or throw into Unreal Engine and start producing these things. So when it comes to the next 3 to 5 years, I would say the projects that give their end user the access to the assets to allow collaborations with other projects to allow those assets inside. For example, a Call of Duty gun being thrown around in World of Warcraft allows those assets to be transferable through wherever you carry through wherever you want. Ready Player One movie pretty much encompasses that. And I don't think there will be any big project that lasts a long time until that connection between chains / worlds all comes together.
Starting to breach into the concepts of Web 4 here, but we have 3 minutes left, so let's hear a minute on all of you guys. Where are we thinking?
I just want to add on that. I mean, I had an interesting phone call this morning with a company called Art Labs, and what they're doing is essentially taking the digital assets, and they've got their fancy software, don't ask me how it works, and it turns it into something that's compatible for all the multiple metaverses out there to get that. So you can create one gaming asset, run it through the software, and then all the metaverses can enjoy it.
Wow.
But the thing that I'm most excited about with gamification in the future is gamification getting combined with finance. So we could see GameFi really taking off. So instead of you going to, say, Alan Gray and filling up some, boring paperwork in order to have some fixed income yield, already everyone's falling asleep, instead you'll go to like this game and it'll be like a farm animals. And what you do is the more money you give to your farm animals, the fatter they get. So you're getting this visual representation. Then
Sounds
there's
like Animal Crossing.
kind of like an Animal Crossing. And then like the yield or the dividend will maybe they lay some eggs. And now you've got some more farms. Or if there's a risk that, the markets all went down, then, there was a plague in your farm and you lost all of them. So there's this gamification of finance. And it's actually like every day you want to see how's my balance doing. You maybe water the plants, check on the things, maybe even buy them. There's a very early version of this called Avagotchi, where you've got these little ghosts and you can dress them up and they generate interest through the liquidity pools on Aave. But I think that's going to become the norm. That's going to be how the next generation invests, is through this gamification.
So I think the interoperability issue is massive, and I think
Huge,
Africa has led the way in mobile payment solutions for the world, and I hope that we find a way to do that using blockchain technology. So I think we can be a world leader. We will have the next billion game players. We have the youngest continent by far. I'd love to see that connected to actual farming. Imagine a world where what happens in the real world matters. And so that this isn't just about a digital thing, but it's about embracing the authenticity that I think we need to return to. So you asked me for my big dream. Africa is a store of great stories and great art and music, and that has been exploited. And I would love to see a world in which those stories can be told in an authentic way, where the people who tell those stories are rewarded for them, that those link us back to the fundamental principles that bound our continent together. And I really do live to see a world where purpose drives profitability. The good news is it's fundamentally true. It's been proven again and again. So we don't need to wait to know that that's true.
Well, thank you all for joining my panel, and thank you all for listening. Bye.
Thank you so much, guys. Let's hear it for them.